We are back. Yo, what's going on, guys? How are you? Hope all is well. I am back. Took a little bit of a hiatus. Had to focus on getting my car ready for the season. I really didn't want to miss that again this year, and this is actually more time consuming than one would think. So I appreciate you guys for hanging in there, and all my new subscribers, thank you. There's going to be some content coming shortly. So we're getting you some updates today. We're going to kind of go through some things. We got a lot of stuff happening in the near future, so I will be posting a lot more regularly. So thank you guys. Let's get started. Thought was to do a video based off of what happened, showed you a little bit of snippets here and there on what went on during the season, grid life, and the few track days that I also went to, and we'll go over that at a later date. But I figured I'd give you an update on the car first and foremost, show you what we did, and really kind of explain to you how we did it, why we did it, and if it was good for what we ended up using it for. Without further ado, here it is, the 973 car. This is the car that I ran this year. Some of you that follow along already know this. This car came a long way. This thing was originally just supposed to be a seat time car with the stock motor in it and a B16 trans. You can see, I'm not lying about that. The B16 trans is still sitting right there. So we ended up putting a cage in it. We only put a 4-point in for now, just for time savings. This during the winter is going to be turned into a 6-point cage, but we didn't want to, I didn't want to put any pressure on my cage builder to get the cage done. I wanted him to do it properly, so I said, let's do 4-point, but make it so you can turn it into a 6-point later on. We'll just go inside real quick. As you know, we use the Acuity Type R shifter. We're running Fuel Tech 450, which is definitely coming out of the car. We're going 550 in the off season. We got the Solo 2 lap timer, and then we have a race breed heel plate down there, which I just actually put in. That wasn't there for the races at Lime Rock or NJMP, nor was the floor painted. It actually had all the gross sound deadening in it for Lime Rock as well. But trying to clean this car up as best I can, and then over the off season, it's going to get a little bit of an overhaul on the outside. We are going to be ditching the sunroof. That should save us about 40 pounds. So when we put in the 6-point cage, we will not be really adding any weight in. We ended up taking off the Willwoods and putting on 330 millimeter K-tuned, their new brake kit, which worked flawlessly. You can see we actually have a few battle wounds here. Now, some of that's from off-track incidents and also my stupidity and recklessness. So the only thing I can tell you is NJMP this year was fun. We had a great time. It was Thunderbolt, not Lightning. Very fast track, and I was unable to get my splitter on in time for that race. Maybe I could have, but I do work full time. I do have a family, so didn't have all the time in the world to prep this car, and anybody that races knows that prep is a huge thing. You can see now we do have the splitter rods on there. The front bumper nor the splitter are on for good reason. We did have an off-track incident that I'll tell you in the future, but just kind of wanted to tell you what we did to the car so far, and that's really it. The suspension I kept relatively the same. The sway bar is the wrong one on the rear. I don't know what ended up happening. There's some miscommunication, and that was put on back when this car was just originally meant to do some autocrossing and some track days here and there. I believe it might be an EK sway bar, and I just didn't get around to switching it. It worked enough to get me around the track. It's just not meant for this car with the new coilovers. So we ended up running the K-Tune circuits on this car. They worked fantastic for what they are. They have their limitations, and it was more for the way the car's configuration was before. We have Fortunato 520s that we're gonna be running on this car. Unfortunately, due to miscommunication on my part, they were put together slightly wrong, valving wise, and we had to send them back. So by the time I got them back, it just didn't make sense to put them on. So next year we'll have some great suspension on the car, fresh suspension, new sway bar, and a couple more pieces that we're gonna be taking off, which we still have some rubber mounts, rubber bushings, like on some True Heart pieces that were on this car. Not the worst things in the world. What I can tell you is they're definitely not meant for the abuse that this car went through this season. But they held up, enough to get me through. But we have a couple of pieces that need to be replaced. We're gonna be going with all spherical bushings on this car, which was the original plan with my silver Integra. If you didn't know, I was originally gonna build my silver Integra for this competition style car, but we didn't get around to finishing that one, which I'm kind of happy with because that car is probably too nice to chop it up the way that this is. We ended up separating the fenders. We had them mounted to the outside of the side skirts. There's gonna be some upgrades going this off season, so we're not gonna actually be going with the front end that I did this year at all. So that'll be changing, but Old Trusty did a great job. So I'll show you a couple pictures right now of what kind of evolution the car went through, some on-track photos. The photographers are awesome. I got those squared away. And I had a lot of fun. Met some awesome people. The community is unbelievable. GRIDLIFE it's wild how competitive GRIDLIFE is and how many fast people are there. I've gone to a couple track nights and done some other things, and it's just night and day. You almost feel like you're way above the curve when you're competing with these other people when you're at a non-GRIDLIFE event, because while you're there, you're pushing, and they're so fast and so good at what they do. Cars are so well developed and built that when you go to smaller track nights, the cars are just not as competitive. The guys driving are not pushing themselves hard enough, and it's really cool. It's really cool to be a part of the GRIDLIFE family, and I'm stoked for next year. I'm stoked for the changes that are gonna go onto this car. Under the hood, most of you know we ran a K24. We found the limitations on this as well. Very powerful for what it is. I think maybe we're one of the more powerful cars out on track. Unfortunately, our shortcomings came in the way of a transmission. We were running a stock LSD, stock gear set, stock vinyl, the whole bit. It's not ideal for what we do. Online, actually NJMP, I'll show you right now. This clip, you will see we completely lost momentum, power, just dropped off significantly in fifth gear with this car. So next year, we'll have all that situated. We do have Type R gear set. I know this is a complete mess right now, but we've got Type R gears just kind of hanging out. That's not exactly the safest spot for that. Let's go ahead and fix that. So next year we have a few things that we're gonna be changing, always developing. We're gonna be changing to a FuelTech 550 and doing a couple of other things to the car to get it more competitive. With that being said, I had a great time racing this year. We still have another couple events, and I will bring you along for those. And by a couple, I think I actually only have one more. We have an EMRA event in the middle of October, and I have a couple more adjustments I want to make to the car just to see if we can, push this a little bit. We had an incident a couple days ago, about a week ago, on track with at a track night. I ended up snapping an inner tie rod, spinning off track, doing a little bit of damage. So we got to replace that stuff. Already the tie rod's been replaced. Everything that needed to be done. You can see that my splitter was damaged. The mounts are now, straight-ish, I guess you can say, but we have to replace that stuff. One of these brackets is actually broken. You can see where the quick release isn't functioning anymore. So we'll have to put the new ones on, get a new splitter built because the splitter was shattered into a million pieces, which I already have one. I just got to drill it out, do some math, figure it out that way. But we're going to make some more changes to this car in the upcoming off season. So get excited about that. I think we're going to be much more competitive. We did end up in dead last in Club TR at NJMP, which was kind of a bummer, but again, no front splitter on the car, never had adjusted the suspension, never had the car on a fast track. We actually only had one test time before that at NJMP Lightning the week before that. Car was not finished or complete by any means, but I wanted to get out there and I wanted to have fun. Now, we weren't like miles off. We were about, 4 or 5 seconds off the middle of the pack, which is a lot, but again, first time out there, having fun. I was okay with where we were, and I think that there was a lot of stuff that I could have done to better. I didn't run all the sessions. I didn't run the first session. I didn't run the last session. So we didn't even give it our best shot as far as that's concerned. But, hopefully next year we do a lot better. Now, Lime Rock was a little bit of a different story. I was very happy with the time up there. Ended up going to 102.6, I believe. Maybe 102.8, actually 102.8, which again is pretty fast around that track. But the fastest guys were going 57, 58. And we only got the splitter on for the second portion of the race. So I think we ended up running a session the first day and a couple sessions the second day. Now, we did run into a problem where the fuel tech ended up shutting off. It blew a fuse and that kind of stunk. So we didn't get to finish out that session, and I was definitely pushing the car much harder that last session, and we were actually on pace to beat the 102.8, probably closer to a 101, which put us actually closer to the middle of the pack of Club TR, and we finished much further up overall. And again, not the most ideal setup on the car yet. So the fact that we were able to push to that with the limited amount of time that I've had with this car, seat time wise and setup wise, I was very happy with that. So we're making progress, which is all you want to do with racing. And then we had that little incident the other day. Shouldn't have probably raced that day in general. It was a little bit of a tough day. I had a funeral for a friend of mine. And I ended up getting there late, only was able to run one session, and sometimes that's when you run into problems. But anyway, this car is going to do a lot better next year, and I'll bring you along for the ride at Pocono. I will have some GoPro footage and whatnot. But other than that, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging in there. We've got some stuff and updates coming on. Yeah, you're like, wait, you didn't sell this yet? No, I have not, but hopefully that's going to be coming soon. I know a lot of you don't really want me to get rid of this, but there's a reason for it. So thanks, guys. I will talk to you. Have a good one.